Can you guess what it is yet? Yes, that's right, we got our second donut today. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Nomifactory. So, last episode we unlocked Draconic Evolution here. I think some more of the fusion crafting injectors have finished. And we also worked a little bit on circuit automation. So we got the tiers 1 to 3, and also 6 on passive. We skipped 4 and 5 for now. But yeah, I've been playing a little bit between episodes, but our first project for today is to get this donut up and running right here. As you can see behind me though, we are missing the controller block. Obviously, we don't need some glowstone here. So, how do we go about getting this Mark II fusion computer? Well, it's very similar to the Mark I here. Although, don't let this recipe deceive you here. This is 2 LUV field generators, and look at this. This is kind of an insane recipe right here. This is when you know you're in late game. And this craft also takes 4 tier 8s. Of which there is 2 types, and we currently only have the first version, which is the most expensive version. However, at the end of last episode, we worked a little bit here with Ender IO. I have since switched some of these processes around, and we are now actually making sentient Enders. I also moved some of the slice and splices over, just because this area was a little bit too cramped. But yeah, the sentient Enders are made in a very similar way to the Z-Logic controllers, only instead of infusing with zombie, we infuse with witch soul vials. We need to make some of these finals tier 7s, which take our Franken zombies. Everything else here is actually very, very easy to do. Not cheap, but we have it automated at least. It's automated, but it's still very slow in this assembly line. We'll have to get around to adding more of these things. This should be a quest. Nice. So with the tier 7s, some European plates, and the sentient Enders we just automated, we should be able to encode the final tier 8 circuits here. What is this, ZPM? Yeah, we're already running our assembly line at ZPM. Let's also take out the mainframe. We don't want it to use mainframes anymore. So we should now be able to request our 4 tier 8s that we need. While that is crafting actually, let's send a few more tier 6 microminers for dragon eggs, if we can. We're missing redstone, no way. How are we missing redstone? That's impossible. Oh yeah, sure enough, we are missing redstone. Oh, that is definitely not good, hold on. This could potentially turn into a huge, huge disaster for us. And the reason for that is because we use redstone in our reactor coolant here for cryothium. And yeah, we're on the last 11 pieces in this. Oh, this is really, really bad. Hold on. Yeah, no matter what, we have to add some more simulation chambers. But this, I fear this is going to be too little too late. Okay, now we actually have a problem here. Look how quickly this is going down. We're getting like trickles of redstone through it. We really have to buy some redstone ore before it's too late. I'm gonna buy so many stacks of this stuff. At least until the DML catches up here. I'm actually really glad I caught it this early. I mean, I guess it's kind of late on. We should have caught it earlier, to be honest. On a more positive note, we got our first wetware processor arrays. Should be a quest. And I think that was the final piece for this Mark II Fusion Reactor. I did encode the recipe already for these LUV field gens. And I believe 2 are gonna be craftable for us. Apparently we don't use redstone for this, which is a very good sign. Yeah, you see this number here? This is definitely one to keep an eye on throughout the episode. Although, check out what just finished crafting here. Mark II Fusion. Oh yeah. And I'm hoping this is going to complete the multi-block. Nice. Okay, so we got UV power going into these things. These are 16 UV energy inputs into 16x draconium cable. I've also put on 2 fluid extractors at HV. So if we check our quest here, the thing we want to make is Tritanium. I think the Duranium that we started last episode has now finished. Yeah, so it's a 2 to 1 for Duranium to Tritanium. So if we put in 2 stacks of Duranium plates, we're going to get 1 stack out. Maybe let's do a stack and a half, actually. Since we have, I think, 6 stacks of Duranium here. And this also has to be mixed with Titanium. I'm just going to eyeball it here. We'll start with 6 stacks of this. We can always re-solidify what we don't use here. But yeah, it looks like we've already started here in the Fusion Reactor. And we're making Tritanium. Awesome. I think the quest is going to ask for an ingot. So let's stick the ingot mold in. But I think long term we want to solidify plates again. Oh, there it is, the first ingot. And our quest. Yeah, let's switch this out with the plate mold now. And all that's left to do now is just to let this thing run. Tritanium will eventually be used for the wetware mainframe. The first and only tier 9 circuit. But yeah, apart from last episode when we went to find those spawners, we have been in this void base for 4 days, 23 hours, almost. Which is a very long time to spend in one location. So I think it's time that we leave our lawn base behind here, and we set our sights on the moon. So the method of transport in this is going to be advanced rocketry rockets. And honestly, I think the intended progression is to go much, much earlier in the quests. All of these machines are just HV components, really. Before we go to the moon though, we do need to visit the overworld to pick up some rice, some cow's milk. Thank you, cows. And we need to use these ingredients to craft up an end cake, which I think is a quest. We spawn in a 1 by 1. What is this? Alright, let's get this over with. Alright, that wasn't too bad. I'll take that. Oh nice, we got a dragon heart out of this as well. Give it to me. There we go. Wait a second, what is this? Fragment of Midnight? I have no clue what that thing does. Let's grab the free dragon egg. We need lots and lots of these things. And I would love to stay here, but really we're only here for one reason. We need to find one of these gateways here. Yeah, we are just after some chorus fruit here. So yeah, the chorus fruit here we're going to add to our farming station. And I'm going to replace all of this canola that I thought we would use, but it turns out that we are actually not using it anywhere. Actually, that's not entirely true, is it? We still use this for lubricant. The seeds, that is. I mean, we have 180,000, so I think we're going to be okay. If not, I'll add another farming station, though. Yeah, and we should just be able to swap out the seeds here in the farming station with chorus flour. And actually, now that we have flux tools, we may as well give the flux tools to the farming station, rather than it trying to rely on the stone tools that are crafted. We just need to add some drawers for storage. So yeah, the reason I wanted to grab chorus was to make these dislocators. We're going to add a recipe for these things. This is something that we need to passive eventually. But the dislocator will allow us to craft the advanced dislocator here, which actually I think needs to be an extended pattern terminal. Oh nice, the redstone's up over 8,000. I suspect there's quite a lot in ore processing still though. But yeah, these dislocators is how we're going to teleport back and forward from the moon. Once we actually get there the first time, of course. And for that, we're going to need the rocket and all the other shenanigans that goes along with this. Spacesuit, oxygen, fuel loaders. But you guys have seen this a million times, so I'm going to get us to the moon, if I can. I hope we're not missing anything major for this. You know, advanced rocketry always gives you a very smooth ride on the way up here. Look at this. We're jumping all over the place here. Aha, we made it to the moon. And this will also be the last time we take this rocket. We're going to use these dislocators now. We'll place the other one that we marked on our base. And that means we should be able to freely teleport here. Just to be safe though, I think I'm going to send the rocket back. If we launch the rocket and get off, it's going to fly back to where we took off from. And that way, if anything goes wrong with these dislocators, we have a way back. So I'm going to wait for this to leave. So yeah, we've traveled all this way to the moon. Why are we actually here? Well, to get the next tier of Microminer, we need the warp engines. And to make these, we need Dark Soularium thrusters, which takes Dark Soularium. And inside the blast furnace, along with these ingots, we also need something called Tritium, which can come from Deuterium. And the most optimal way to get this is to mine the moon. So we need to make one of these lunar miners. It's a huge multi-block here. Takes a bunch of LUV machine casings, but I think we should be able to manage this thing. This is what, tier 4 circuits? Yeah, so we're here to set up the miner, but I do have to first of all go and craft that thing. So let's hope these dislocators actually work. The rocket should be gone by now. We made it! And this one we can put back. Yeah, nice. We just need to remember to wear the spacesuit. We don't want to run out of oxygen when we're here. Okay, so it's been around 40 minutes for me. I did actually get the miner built. But one of the other materials we needed to finish that thing off was energetic silver. So we got that on HSSG. I think this is running IV tier. I also decided to move over Energetic Alloy and Vibrant Alloy just to give them a bit more of an overclock. These were in fact the original 2 blast furnaces that we had on MV. I think it's actually Ender IO, all of those slice and splices that are eating all of those ingots there. But yeah, if we hop back over to the moon, check this out. This is actually, I think this is a really nice looking multi-block right here. Quite simple to build with the preview, but we do have a little bit more setup before we can get this thing up and running. Obviously, we do need to provide this with power. I have an IV energy input hatch on this. I'm not sure if this is going to be fast enough, but I guess we'll find out. So I got a CEF here. We're going to hook this up to a dimensional transceiver. We also need to think about the outputs for this, which is just going to go into an ender tank. This thing will output straight deuterium for us. However, to get the deuterium, we do also have to provide it with deuterium rovers, which are consumed 10% of the time. Since they are not used that frequently, I think we're just going to batch craft these. I mean, they are pretty nested. It takes some HV components, some solar panels, but I did put in the recipes here. Yeah, I think we'll start off with 2 stacks of these rovers. We'll just check on it every so often. But it looks like every 600 seconds we get 48 buckets of deuterium, which is actually a lot, and these are only consumed 10% of the time. So yeah, I believe we can just place some sort of a chest down here. That probably wasn't a smart idea. Something we can open. Let's give it a crate. And we give this thing some rovers, point the input hatch down. Is this thing turned on by now? We should have all the inputs we need. Yes, it is. Awesome. And we get the overclock, so it's nowhere near 600 seconds for the recipe, actually. Oh yeah, it's already filled the ender tank. Nice. So yeah, most of this deuterium anyway, we want to just buffer in a quantum tank first, just because I think this is going to be slower than our Lunar Miner. Then we're just sending it into an IV centrifuge, which turns it into tritium for us. Into a buffer, which is only a steel drum. I think I might upgrade this to a quantum tank, honestly. I think that we just need to buffer a lot of tritium for this Dark Soularium, since it's 1-to-1, 1 bucket per ingot. So yeah, speaking of the Dark Soularium, I think that we should take a look at our tier 7 micro miner. Now this is a huge jump up here. The first thing that we'll need is the heavy plating, which does take the next tier of compressor, the ZPM. Oh, but this is using the wrong tier 7 circuit. We want to use wet wares now. Yeah, that's more like it. Way less circuits to use. Only 4 wet wares for this. And the next tier of heavy plating is going to be draconium. Let's encode a pattern for this. I was wondering why this thing was taking so long to craft, but I think we actually just voided a couple of circuits here. I think because we're over the chunk boundary and I unloaded this dimension. This output bus here technically didn't count for the assembly line multi-block. And it didn't complete it, so when it ran the recipe, we didn't get anything from this. I think is what happened here. Alright, we got our ZPM compressor. This we're just going to place on the LUV line. We should be able to power it here. Draconium plating recipe goes here. Allow input from output side. And it starts raining. Nice. It rains so often in this base. Alright, so I've went ahead and set up another blast furnace here. This one is going to be for our Dark Soularium. We've got a fluid input hatch on the left hand side here. This is where we filter in tritium. Very good, this automatically fills the input hatch. And there is 2 ingots that we need for this. We need both Soularium ingots and dark steel. Both of these things we are actually making passively. And I think it's 60 seconds at starting at LUV, so we don't get any sort of overclock on this. The recipe also calls for Naquada alloy coils, although we're kind of short on Naquada alloy, so I just decided to use superconducting coils instead. I mean, at this point, actually cheaper for us. I think we'll set this for 1,000 or maybe 2,000 Dark Soularium. Set the storage monitor, and this is another blast furnace to add to our collection here. Oh my goodness, these chickens! Oh, we got another one. Yeah, I'm not sure if I showed this last episode, but we actually do have Soularium, regular Soularium on passive here. We have a crafter for sand and hellish matter for soul sand, and an alloy smelter to mix that with gold for Soularium. We're just letting this buffer full drawers here. Alright, so to progress and unlock the Microminer quest, the tier 7s, we do need the next tier of fusion injectors. And because this takes 2 dragon eggs each, we want to save these for wetware. I think we're just going to do 1 set of these for the time being at least. Yeah, this is definitely not a cheap upgrade, especially even just for 12 of these things, but it is necessary, so yeah, in the meantime, let's encode the recipe for the tier 7. I think this is going to be our first green table ultimate recipe. We can just add this to a recipe package, save the pattern. 1 goes in the packager, 1 goes in the unpackager. And it's time to request this and close our eyes. I feel like we're going to be missing so much out of this thing. Well, actually, you know what? It's only a few items here. All of which are very, very nested. Of course they are, right? Look at this. Alright, I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's get tier 7. Okay, I think we'll start here with the Dislocation Normalization Field Projector. This is just a simple crafting recipe, and the item dislocator is another crafting recipe. Taking a dislocator, but we have the recipe for this and the chorus flower, hopefully. Next on the list is the crystal matrix plates. I think we'll do these in the compactor. Now that we have the Enderium upgrade kits, this thing should be really quick. The crystal matrix ingots themselves do need an ultimate table crafting recipe. This is where the bulk of our diamonds are going to be eaten up here. So we'll move on to the energy core stabilizers. And for these is another fusion craft here at Wyvern tier. And the center item, the particle generator, is just another crafting recipe. Alright, next up is going to be the Ender Energy Manipulator. I don't know if we make wither skeleton skulls, do we? Well, we didn't, but we do now. Let's set the storage monitor. Make sure we give this a drawer over here. Okay, so we're currently crafting another LUV assembly machine. We'll get back to that when it's crafted. But first, for the warp engines, we do need Dark Soularium thrusters. The vibrant thrusters are used in the previous tier microminer, so we have these already. We just made Dark Soularium ingots, we have Draconium energy conduit. However, we do need flight control units, which is another soulbinder thing here. This recipe does require bat soul vials, so we need to make some bat wings. And thankfully there is actually a crafting recipe for these, which means that we should be able to soulbind this spider spawner and change it to a bat version. This step we're definitely just going to do on demand for the time being, since it takes Dark Soularium. Very good, we got our broken bat spawner. Combine this with a powered spawner. So we need a recipe that looks something like this. We'll place down our interface with the recipe inside, powered spawner, soulbinder, and fluid interface. Filter this for liquid XP, and fluid conduit to pull it into the soulbinder. The powered spawner for the bats we want to set on capture mode. Give it some power and some soul vials. And when I say give it some power, we actually need to give it some power. Not just the capacitor. That should work. And then just some item conduit to pass the empty and filled soul vials between the powered spawner and the soulbinder. So to send the completed items away from this thing, I think we can just configure the IO here to push-pull. And that should grab the empty flight control units, fill them up, and send them back to our AE system. Oh, we're missing the recipe for the empty flight control units here. It's just some Dark Soularium and electrical steel. Okay, quick test to make sure it works. It should be sent over here. Yeah, there we go. Our Draconic Fusion crafting injectors have just finished, I think. And we get our quest, awesome. Actually, let's put these on the bottom row. Alright, so what is going to be left for tier 7 then? Yeah, we're still missing these flux thrusters. I think this is an NBT data issue, we have to set the recipe manually. So this is where the assembly machine comes into play. We need glowstone elevation units. So we are going to place assembly machine, input from output side on the top, interface for our pattern, fluid interface on the side, filter in molten glowstone, which we should already be melting somewhere, and pump to pull that into the machine. Enable auto output and plug in this interface. I almost walked away without plugging this thing in here. But yeah, that should allow us to set the recipe for these glowstone elevation units. And the empty ones are just some lumium and fluxed electrum. It is 100 seconds at IV, but we won't be sending too many of these tier 7s before tank. Anyways, we also need the recipe for the fluxed thruster, which takes signalum plates, I think we have. Fluxed armor plating, I don't think we have these. We do have flux crystals on passive. In fact, I think this is where all of the redstone is going now. I think this guy over here is responsible for the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. For all of our redstone disappear in this episode. But it's almost filled the buffer, so I'm tempted just to leave it as is. And do we have the flux electrum plates? I don't think we do, right? One more compacting recipe. Okay, so I fixed the NBT data in the recipe for the warp engines, and look at this. We can craft our tier 7 microminer. Oh my goodness, the material list just keeps going. Oh, this is absolutely insane. And we need lots and lots and lots of these things to finish the pack. This is going to be the first of many. Have at it, Applied Energistics. But we're not done there. We're not done there. To actually launch this thing, we do need the Large Microverse Projector. Right now, we only have the small and medium. Okay, it's been a little bit. I'm trying to gather the rest of these materials for the Large Microverse Projector. I think we actually do have everything for this. Besides, like, 20 ingots of black steel, we're really close. However, I think we actually want to put this on a ZPM line. And the reason for that is eventually the tier 10, I think, does require max tier. And max isn't something that's going to be very easy to power if we're only at LUV. So yeah, let's extend out our platform a little bit more. Maybe for the last time in this direction. And we'll make a start to our ZPM line right here. Maybe we'll move the ZPM machines over here. Okay, so we got our 16 amp ZPM CEF, which should be sufficient for the time being. 16x Enderium cable. We probably don't need this much right now. We don't have that many ZPM machines. And all that's left now is to construct this large... Oh yeah, this is... this is definitely as large as I remember it. Look at this thing. So I think we got this thing all set up here running at ZPM tier. We got the same logic set up here to be able to request the 2 separate tier 7 missions. The first of which gives us a bunch of dragon loot and some blocks of diamond, gold and silver. And the second one gives us Lair of the Chaos Guardian data, which we actually need to launch the tier 8s. So that basically exponentially makes these tier 8s more expensive. However, you may notice the other thing we need here is dilithium crystals, and this is the other use for our deuterium actually. And to get these, we're going to need both a pulverizer and an autoclave. Actually, can't go there, can it? Has to go over a block. Pulverizer and autoclave. We need to make sure we put a fluid storage bus on the deuterium tank, which is actually already at 7 million millibuckets here. I think IV power is going to be sufficient, honestly. And we are buffering excess tritium, which is a good sign. It probably means our blast furnace is too slow for Dark Soularium, but we'll see. We'll see if we have to increase that thing. Anyways, then we can just have a fluid interface to supply deuterium. So we're going to be running this recipe here for the crystals. We do need to get dilithium dust, which can only come from ore as far as I know. However, this comes from the tier 1 mission, and so we have sent a bunch of tier 1 missions by now. We have 1200 ore, I think it doubles, so we have what, 2400 crystals? So we just need a regular interface on the pulverizer here. I think we're safe just to pulverize all of these ores here. Although, do we want to buffer dilithium dust? No, it looks like we can just autoclave it all into the crystals. Conveyor for insert. This will be automatically sent to the autoclave. And 4 at a time, it should be converted into dilithium crystals. Nice. We're going to totally use the fact that we have a drawer network right here and connect it, connect it up. We can use some item conduit to connect these together. There's our quest. Set the drawer. Let's put back our regular autoclave with water. This is actually still what I'm using for Certus and nether quartz and lapis and things. This is probably going to get its own PA soon. But yeah, now that we got dilithium, we should be able to send our tier 7 mission. Wait, after we pick up the quest first though. It has finished crafting. There it is, the tier 7 microminer. Next quest is for us to get dragon hearts, so I guess that kind of answers the question on which mission we want to send. We do definitely need some more dragon scales, and we could do with some more dragon eggs for more wetware. So I've got them labelled here as dragon and data. We are still waiting on 1 or 2 dilithium crystals, so in the meantime, we're going to set up this LUV laser engraver. This thing is going to take a blue lens, and we are going to import these crystal CPUs here from this interface, but we want to make sure that we don't buffer too many of these things in here. So I've got keep exact 4 on. And this will make us crystal SOCs. I'm going to put a machine controller on this though, just to make sure that we don't use all of these crystal CPUs. This will only run if we have over 256 of these crystal CPUs. And we can just have it share the same drawer network here with a downgrade. Maybe an upgrade or 2 in there as well, just to hold, what, 8 stacks. This unlocks the cheapest tier 5 circuit, as we are still missing the passive automation, as I've mentioned, of tier 4s and 5s. So yeah, that laser engraver should build up enough for us to start that next episode. And the crystal CPUs we already have on passive over here. Or maybe not. Maybe we're missing something. Yeah, we're missing exquisite emeralds, which come from tier 3. Let's send like 4 more exquisite missions for tier 3. Oh, wait a second. Quantum circuits? Oh, I see what the problem is here. I disconnected this thing here. Yeah, that would probably help. I guess... Yeah, now we can send our microminer. Okay. Almost forgot about the feral flare lanterns underneath this new part of the platform. Alright, and by now we got enough dilithium crystals to launch our first tier 7. Let's see this thing in action. And also check how long it takes at ZPM. You know, this doesn't even look that slow, to be honest. Now that is nice. We got, I think we got an EV output bus on this thing, so that should be more than enough to handle all the outputs. Did it work? Do we have our dragon hearts? We do have our dragon hearts. This should be a quest. And with that, guys, I think this is also a good point to wrap up the episode. We got our second fusion reactor today. This is, I think it's actually finished all the tritanium even. It's been a few hours since the start of this episode at least. We upgraded draconic fusion. We sent our first tier 7. We got access to Dark Soularium. We visited space. Man, we are flying through this pack. It's going to be finished before we know it. But speaking of finished, we are close to Creative Tank. And as we approach Creative Tank, there is a bit of a grind, meaning that there's not too much interesting things to show without waiting for some resources and things. So there may be a day or 2 where we skip an episode. I'm not going to be playing any lessons. I'm probably going to be here trying to get microminer missions, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I'll see you all soon for some more at Nomifactory.